Good morning, everyone. If we could, please, let's stand and do Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jake, if you could do roll call, please.
Keisha Johnner,
Here.
Jim Mueller,
Here.
Steve McCombs, here.
On to agenda. Entertain a motion for today's agenda.
I move we approve today's agenda.
I'll support.
McCombs,
Aye.
Mueller,
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye. On to communications. I want to make sure the public knows that this is our last meeting at 3014 East Main. We are also known as the East Annex. We are going to be moving to the North Annex, and our next meeting will be July 8th. So please happily attend there. So North Annex, I don't know the physical address. It's 2003 North. 2003 North Lincoln. So any other communications?
Nope.
Seeing none? Move on. Item number 4 is public comments. This is the portion of the agenda in which we can hear from public that is not on the agenda below. These could be possibly become future agenda items. Is there any public comments? Anything online? Seeing none? Moving on. Entertain a motion for today's consent agenda.
I move we
Move to
approve
approve.
agenda.
I'll support.
Mueller,
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
On to business. Item number 1. It's Marion County zoning. It's a site plan review. Missy, I'll turn it over to you.
So, yep, we're here today to review the site plan of the proposed rebuild of the dry fertilizer storage in Otley after the fires last winter. So as I've presented to you, the checklist that comes straight from the Marion County zoning ordinance, as far as our minimum standards of the zoning ordinance, it covers, the size, location, information, existing buildings, any water supply, sewage, surrounding neighbors. We do have confirmation, and I have the NPDS permit in the file. So we did get that. We also got, they have the required construction permit from IDOLS for the dry fertilizer. As you can see from the site plan, this building, so the proposed building is 24,000 square feet, which takes over the place of the previous 12,500 square foot. And as you can see from the transparency under, the building doesn't start any further back towards Union. It does, however, go closer to business Highway 163. It does meet the minimum setbacks of 50 feet. It's proposed at 55 feet from Washington and from Business Highway 163. It is required because of its size to have the detention you'll see in blue. I provided you with the detention calculations. This property is zoned light industrial and has been zoned light industrial since 1971, beginning of zoning. Also shown as light industrial on the land use plan. And the parking lot will remain gravel, as you can see, but they are proposing to pave both of the approaches, the driveways that were approved by the county road department onto Business 163. The one on Washington will remain gravel. So in the research and the requirements, comments of the requirements for dry fertilizer storage, I did my own research and confirmed with Brian from the co-op that dry fertilizer is required to have a construction permit from IDOLS, which is in place. They're required to have a yearly license, which they have in place. And then the other requirement is that it's to be contained with it inside an enclosed building. So not to be confused with, there's more specific things if it were anhydrous, but that's the requirements that I researched and confirmed with Brian that is required for dry fertilizer. So this will be obviously on a permanent foundation. Marion County doesn't have building codes or building inspections, so the property owner, builder, contractors are responsible for any and all requirements outlined by the state of Iowa or other applicable governing bodies. The site plan's been done by licensed engineering firm Beck Engineering, and it meets all the minimum requirements of the Marion County Site Plan Ordinance.
Board, is there any questions in regarding the site plan? Be mindful that there was actually, just recapping that this was dry fertilizer in the past. Is that what, I guess I would ask the co-op, if the co-op's representative is here. Is this going to continue to stay as dry fertilizer? And it's going to be within the building?
Yes, correct.
What was the size of the previous one, Missy?
12,500.
12,000.
Yep.
So it's basically doubling.
So, yeah,
Hmm.
so the proposed before was the building, or the previous building was 12,500. And with the gravel lot, it was 54,740. And now we have 35,000 square feet approximately of gravel, and the building's 24,018. We did, so the zoning commission meeting, there was a public hearing at the zoning commission meeting, and we had a few neighbors in attendance, some discussion, and the zoning commission did pass the site plan 3-1.
I guess I would ask the co-op, members from the co-op, how do you get along with your neighbors and their idea of this?
I will say we notified pretty much the entire town of Otley, and we had response from less than 10, so.
Is the dry fertilizer, is this something where you're going to be housing all your dry fertilizer for Two Rivers completely in one location? Or do you still have multiple locations for your dry fertilizer?
So we've only ever had one dry fertilizer shed, and
You have, okay,
unfortunately it burnt down. So yes, to answer your question, yes, this would house all of our dry fertilizer for the company.
okay, all right.
Were there any negative comments from any of the neighbors?
I would, a couple of the neighbors are present. If they would like to speak, I would let them speak to the comments.
Do you want to speak?
Yes, please.
Okay, hang on, we'll get you a mic.
Please.
Hi, I'm Kevin Van Haften. I live just kind of catty corner from the building, and I actually own a property that touches this property. It's not a residence, it's just one of my buildings. The residents had a lot of, me and then some of the other residents who did not attend had like some concerns, especially since the size and volume of this building is basically going to double. As we saw from what happened with the fire, we're greatly concerned about how that went down. We want to make sure that there is a plan and action, basically. That was ridiculous the way that happened when that burnt. Nobody could put it out. Nobody put it out properly, and it burned for several days, and the residents were told to voluntarily evacuate. We just want to make sure, I don't want to stop the co-op from building there. Obviously, they've been a great neighbor every other way. It's just, we want to make sure that if they're going to operate this with this much volume of, dry fertilizer and whatever else is in there, that for one, if there is ever a fire again, there is a plan, between the county, the fire department and emergency management and the co-op on getting a fire out and getting it out quickly. Without impact to the, environment and the surrounding community. And number two, just to make sure the safety of everybody that's, including the co-op's employees, for, this type of a fire. One thing we heard was the fire department, it was we couldn't put water on this fire because it had so much, at that time, sulfur in there. And if you put water on a sulfur fire, it becomes sulfur dioxide, which is extremely toxic. So the resulting action was to quote unquote, let it burn until the co-op got the approval to go ahead and put lime on it to put it out, which they did a great job with it once they got the approval to do that. I just want to make sure that, if in the future that we have a lot more planning preparation, whatever to, basically to plan for the worst case scenario. I'm, like I said, I'm really concerned, especially the doubling in size. And I realize it meets the minimum setbacks of 50 feet. There's really my nephew owns the abandoned property across the street, but it's an abandoned property at this time. 50 feet, now that it's got the road in between there, but man, that's close. I know he has intentions. He's in Texas right now. He has intentions to move back and do something with that property, and it's going to be very, very close to that building. A couple other concerns I had too is water doesn't drain very well there already. It's kind of hard to tell from the site plan. There's some existing culverts that drain water from my property from the road ditch there. I just want to make sure that those existing culverts stay there and the water will still drain properly. With that retention pond, it will be right next to where those existing culverts are. I want to make sure that that water will still drain properly. I guess I didn't address that in the zoning meeting. I apologize. I should have. But I wanted to make sure that that water is going to drain properly.
And just to clarify, that's detention, not retention. So detention, I mean, the only time there would be standing water is if we had a huge rain. It will, I mean, the intent is that detention, it will go through the tiles and away. So there wouldn't be standing water unless we'd had a significant amount of rain.
And my concern there is where they put the bank there. That's right where that culvert is. As long as that culvert will still drain, I don't have a problem. It's just water doesn't drain very good already. And if they're going to put a big, basically dike right next to that, I want to make sure that, that water will still drain properly. So. Sure.
I mean, Kevin, you bring up a few good points. I do want to say, as part of our insurance requirements for the past, I believe, 7 years, we have invited out the local fire departments that service our properties. We can't make them show up, but they have been extended that invitation every year for the past at least 5 years, if not 7.
Is there any technology available to suppress a fire in a situation like that without using water? I'm not familiar enough with the fertilizer industry, but I would think that perhaps a halon release system or something. I know that it would add cost, but just out of curiosity, is there any opportunity to put a fire suppression process in place?
That question was raised when we were planning the new building, and we really didn't get any good options as far as feedback on being able to put anything like that in that building.
So you say they had to get permission to put lime on the fire or?
Technically, we couldn't do anything until the site was released by Marion County Emergency Management and the fire department, which didn't happen until Wednesday morning of the fire.
So the lime wasn't actually a fire suppressant. It was, what was its purpose?
It was more, once the sulfur got wet because it rained an inch and got hot, it started a chemical reaction.
Oh,
So the lime was applied to neutralize that chemical reaction that was going on. And basically.
and why did we have to get permission to put that on there?
Jeff, is that a question you want to answer?
Charge your firefighting efforts.
So I think this, obviously nobody wanted the fire. Yeah, right. I do hope that this was a learning experience by all in regards to, I think it's gotta be a team effort. I'd hope that the fire department, the rural fire departments, whether, any rural fire department in Marion County would want to make sure that they learn because, if this were to happen again, how we take care of it. These are somewhat anomalies that happened. It was unfortunate, Kevin, that it did happen at Ollie. I mean, I do, that, I understand your frustration there. I do understand that, fertilizer is also a way of life and we have a lot of farmers, right? And so, the co-op, Missy, how long has the co-op been present in Ollie?
So my understanding is the co-op has had a presence of some sort in Otley for over 100 years. The co-op, so prior to, I look back 1971, it was Two Rivers at the time. And it was called Otley Co-op at the time. And that's when zoning started. That was when and it's been industrial ever since.
So with that being said, co-op, do you feel like from this experience, that you are going to be able to maybe have, maybe a better plan in place for future? I mean, do you feel like you've grown that relationship with the rural fire department to be able to, help the neighbors to feel like they're safe?
So one big change with the new shed, compared to the old one, we will no longer be holding, bulk sulfur in that building.
Okay,
Okay.
We're moving to 2,000-pound totes. And it was kind of a worst case scenario because we had just filled the building with sulfur for 25 season.
So you are making efforts to address.
Correct. And the design of this building is completely different. There's a whole lot less moving parts, lot less exposure, for
Okay,
ignition sources.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're definitely changing the way we're handling specifically the sulfur product. The
Oh,
volume of
good.
sulfur does not
Good.
change. The volume of potash and phosphate in the building will change. Neither one of those really reacted to the fire at all. 90% of that was reclaimed and recovered. So
okay,
a future fire, hopefully we never see, but we are taking steps to limit the exposure within that building.
and maybe this is such a thing, and regarding the totes, obviously the totes are labeled. It is again something you said you were speaking with the fire department of, hey, this is where we keep our totes, type of thing. So they know in proximity of the building. And maybe that's a diagram that you could give them, that would be helpful too. That's something that they could, access. I do think, if everybody can get along, I think that it's well worth, approving of the site plan. I really do. But I just ask that you guys got to work together. I mean,
right. And concerning Mr. Van Hafsen's questions about that culvert, is that culvert on your property or is that?
It's actually kind of between the two. It's actually in the road ditch underneath Union Street.
So it's on county property?
Part of it, it's weird. It drains everything from that field, sorry. It drains everything from that field up to the north there. And then it drains under Union Street. There's a culvert there, which is in the county's road ditch, which is now part of the county now that they've got it back. And then it goes across, the co-op's property. And then it goes underneath the driveway for not the fertilizer shed, but the building off to, as I'm looking off to the left, it goes underneath there and then it goes into another detention pond. Is that the correct word?
Yes.
That's next to their equipment building there. That's where all that water drains.
If you see the purple line, I believe that's what that, is
There you
coming
go.
from detention. So there's purple like there and up on the other corner.
Here?
There,
Yep.
here and there. Yep.
So that's the proposed
Where's his,
stormwater sewer.
where's his culvert here?
To the left, right where Keisha had her hand, right up there. It goes right under the road there. That's that dotted line that goes under the road. And then it goes into that yellow gravel, I think it's a drainage pit, I think is what right now they just have a low spot because they had actually made a couple places for water to go when they built the equipment building.
Okay, the actual culvert
Yeah.
Is under the road. right?
Yeah, right where, if
But-
you
but
go
you-
straight
but
up, that's where Union Street is. There's a culvert that goes under that, and then there's another culvert that goes under that driveway.
Straight north of the blue is Union Street.
Yeah.
So is there any concerns on keeping that culvert and maintaining that drainage with the co-op or the county?
Oh, for the.
This is the first I've heard of that, so I have no knowledge of that culvert or drainage really right now.
I mean, the site plan was reviewed by Tyler, so, and Brian, so.
Well, to me, if the site plan already has a culvert in place, then it should be left in place.
Right. And maintained.
Okay. As long as your concerns are being addressed, Mr.
Yeah, and that's
Bennett.
what I'll make sure that, any of the revisions with
Can you give
that-
him the mic?
Sorry.
Jake?
With that detention pond, I just want to make sure that's not going to make the water, sit there or whatever. I want to make sure it still flows out of there, which, like I said, it barely does now, just because of elevation and
Right.
everything. And like I said, it's part of the road ditch, and it basically makes the road ditch sit full of water. I know Steve, my neighbor, has property that it doesn't drain there either. He has kind of a lake there all the time anyway. And like I said, if we make that slow down it'll really flood his property,
Yeah.
so.
I'm aware.
I just want to chime in. This is Mark, with Beck Engineering. We essentially, that culvert crossing Union will be unchanged. We're basically routing that around, or maintaining the existing drainage pattern. And then with our plans, we're calling to clean out that culvert that you have noted that's underneath the driveway that's partially clogged. So hopefully cleaning that out will increase that, but the detention shouldn't have any impact on that existing culvert.
Okay. Well, I just want to make sure we're all getting along and we're all on the same page.
Any other questions from the board? So board, obviously before us is the site plan review. Missy is seeking approval of the site plan. She is recommending, from what, is being reviewed. The site plan was, zoning commission was 3-1 on June 17. Do I have a motion for the proposed Two Rivers site plan?
Well, after hearing today's conversation, I move that we approve the site plan review.
I'll support that.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Give you a time if you want to stay, you can. If not, you're more than happy to. I'll give them a few minutes to clear out. Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you guys for all coming. Okay. On to item number 2, which is resolution 2025-68. This establishes certain fees to be charged for the division of land, division, subdivisions, rezoning off land, and issuance of building permits. Missy.
So, I guess the last review of the fees was in 2019. Kind of what's coming forth today is, again, we now have to add accessory dwelling units to the fee schedule since that was passed by the states, and getting that in there. I guess to add to your comments, we did do research of like counties. We did look into this, both Knoxville and Pella, only to find out theirs were more outdated than ours. So I guess to answer, there's not a great way, every county, if you look at the schedules I sent you, which was counties of similar size, and some counties, as well as cities, do it based on the value of the structure. So it's a sliding scale. Marion County's never done it that way. So we just do a set
So we will have a sliding scale.
No,
but
we
that-
will not. I mean, I'm not
So-
proposing, I guess, that's not, we just set a fee of, if you're building a house, it's a certain fee. If you're, if you're building an accessory structure, it's a set.
If it's based on the value, why,
I don't know why counties do it that way. I mean, cities do it that way
Cities do it
typically
that
because
way
there's
typically.
building codes and building inspections and I guess I would say the majority of the counties don't do the sliding fee. But obviously you can see Webster County, they have a range, so they do a sliding fee.
well, that's what I'm curious about.
Is
And I
it,
say-
they do a sliding fee?
Well, I mean, a couple of these we don't, we don't currently have on our thing, like a duplex structure and an accessory dwelling unit.
Accessory dwelling unit is completely new. I
New.
mean, that's passed, that's gotta go through the ordinance process, because the state, I mean, duplexes, we allow them, and working with Lucas, at MIPA, he kind of recommended, that we add duplexes. They were always just done as a principal builder, as a dwelling,
So is an accessory structure, would that be like considered a garage or something?
An accessory structure is a garage, detached garage, a shed, anything that's not ag exempt. So anything ag exempt, obviously, there's no fee for. So if you are building a garage out in South Shore Heights, there's gonna be a $50 fee. It's currently 25.
No matter what size of the garage?
Correct.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
I just want to make sure that our public knows what they're getting for their money.
Yep.
I think, did a lot of this spur because of the state passing the law
Correct.
for, we have to allow accessory dwellings now? One per,
One per principal dwelling.
yeah,
And
okay.
so essentially, and over the past since.
Is it like building a grandma house?
Yep, correct.
Okay.
And since 2018, more and more on the smaller lots, especially in the subdivisions, and any of the smaller lots, I actually physically go out there to view the setbacks. If you're building on a 10-acre tract and it's well in the middle, then we don't go out to the site. It's not required. But on all of the smaller lots, we do go out. I do go out, as we do accessory dwelling units. If we're trying to cram them into some of these small lots, we're definitely gonna have to go out and view them to make
So the fee covers our time.
time going out there to them.
Okay.
And I think the board also needs to be reminded, these have not been changed since 2018. I think the last time was me speaking about them. And yeah, I remember.
And
it in
before that
2018.
had been like 10 years.
Yeah.
So it's not something that, obviously,
do
what kind of
yearly,
spurred
yeah.
it is, again, we had to add the accessory dwelling unit. So we needed to just then review them. And Carrie did a good job putting together the chart of the counties of like above and below us. But then I did look into, I mean, I can tell you that there are counties not that far away from us that an accessory building is $500.
Yeah, I don't
Not-
want to get into county
Yep,
comparison.
so, I mean, we.
We want to do what's right. for
Yep, and
our-
we are trying, I mean, like I said, when the, in 2018, when we raised them, it's because we had to start going out there to sites to view, to make sure that we were meeting setbacks.
I think, Missy, I think you guys have done a nice job of giving us good comparables. To Steve's point, I think it's a matter of making sure that it isn't creating a situation that's a moneymaker. Really, all it's done is it's tried to offset costs that we will experience in order to provide the permits for all this stuff. So I think it looks very reasonable to me.
And then some of the stuff we have to go look at, maybe involves more than one department,
Oh, yes.
correct?
Even on some of these building permits, the variances, we have one, for example, going to the Board of Adjustments. Brian Hatch has spent multiple trips to Knoxville Estates.
Yeah, see, that's the point I want to make to
Correct.
to the public, what they're getting for their money for this.
Even on building permits, the road department, a lot of times, if they have verification of the right of way, they will actually go out and mark it to make sure that the property owner knows where the right of way is, and they're not having to pay for a survey to do it. They do a great job. They
Right.
do a great job on variances that impact the road. And the same way with rezonings, it always includes environmental health, the road department, zoning department.
No, I understand, and I understand why you had to, now was the time to look at it, especially since we had to add something per code for the accessory dwelling units. Yeah. It's
That was my only concern, Missy, that the public understands how this is all split up.
And sometimes when we say, a building permit, some of these, we've worked with these people for 6 months. Like, it's not a one and done piece of paper comes flying through. We have land divisions we've worked on for, between myself and the road department and the auditor's office for 5 years. I mean, we spend a lot of time working, with people, and we
And
understand.
I will be honest that your land division, minor plats,
Yeah,
it's-
it gets complicated.
yeah, it's pretty reasonable. I mean,
We
yeah.
understand that people don't do this every day, and we literally, if that's what it takes, we hold their hand to do it.
I don't have any issue with this.
No.
Nope, nor do I.
I appreciate the explanation, Missy,
No problem.
and just so everybody could hear it.
Entertain a motion for resolution 2025-68.
Move to approve resolution 2025-68.
Second,
McCombs,
aye.
Mueller,
Aye.
Johnner,
Aye.
Thank you.
On to item number 3, which is the salary survey committee. Mr. Nestaby,
Well, hello, board.
I appreciate you coming today and speaking to the board on what you found out.
All right, so what I'll do is I'll just kind of fill you in on where the committee is right now and what a recommendation is, and then I'll be happy to field any questions that the board has. So as everybody's aware, May 13th, we released an RFP upon the board's recommendation and approval to request for a salary survey for Marion County. Upon releasing that, we literally only received 2 proposals back. Those proposals were from Gallagher and Birch's group. And after review of both of those, we do have a recommendation for the board that we'd like to share today, and I can summarize why we chose to go this route. So starting off with Gallagher, it looked really good when you first open it up and you go to cost. The issue is that Gallagher did not present everything that we were looking for within their proposal. So they added sublines. They gave us a total cost, for example, will not exceed $37,950. The issue is when you break that down and see what they're actually giving us, they're not giving us what we're asking for. So in all the RFPs that I've sent out for various building projects, one of the prerequisites that I have is when I get a proposal, if it's not reflective of what we're actually seeking, I toss it out. When we compare apples to apples, that's what the taxpayers expect. This obviously is not comparing apples to apples. So one of the things, and I'll highlight this, is probably the most glaring problem with Gallagher is we asked for actual job descriptions to put in. That was a direction from the board. In conversation with the committee, we had given roughly 25 to 35 job descriptions within the RFP that we were seeking to be done. They didn't include those in here. They included a subline on top of that $37,950 that it would cost $550 additional dollars per job description. So really small print. I'm glad we took the time to actually look through all that. But at the end of the day, Gallagher, when you combine all services that we actually sought within the RFP, that 37.9 turns into 109,000. So in our assessment as a committee, we decided to throw that one out. The problem is Gallagher is actually a very reputable company, and we do have some great references for them with other counties. On to Birch's. Birch's group gave us a very thick proposal. They covered absolutely everything we could have possibly wanted, and then some. They had travel expenses from New York. They had the whole thing worked into our proposal. The problem is they have never done a county, and we found that out just last week. What they've done is they've really specialized in very large international companies. They've done like the US Department of State, so they do have a little bit of government experience. But when it comes to the nuts and bolts of how a county functions, they have zero experience with that. And to their credit, they were willing to offer that. They weren't hiding from the fact that this is completely new to them. So with those two things in play, the committee's recommendation is going forward that we would actually re-release the RFP. And this time prior to the RFP going out, we're gonna, minimize that group of companies that does this. We're gonna all take one. Call those folks, have conversations ahead of time, let them know the RFP is being released, see if we can spur a little bit more encouragement and engagement from those companies, and hopefully present the board with not only proposals that reflect what the board's seeking, but also more than two. So that is our recommendation at this point, that we would put pause on this, we would re-release the RFP, and hopefully for the money being spent, get the product that the taxpayers and the board is looking for.
Okay.
And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, Chris, I thank the committee. I thank yourself. I know Tyler is not with us this morning, but he's done a lot too. I appreciate the due diligence. I just asked, do you have any time frame in what you're looking at?
Look, I think the committee could reconvene, and I don't want to speak for everyone. I'm just one member of that. I don't know why in the next couple of weeks the committee couldn't reconvene and divide this list up and start making some phone calls. So my hope would be, I don't think I don't want to mislead the board in any way. I don't think there's a possibility that we could probably have proposals back and still have a salary survey done for the 25-26 budget cycle. So I'm guessing when I looked at the timeline, Birch's gave us a very in-depth timeline. They were looking at probably full implementation somewhere towards mid to end November. So if we push things off another 30 to 45 days, which I'm guessing it's going to take by the time we do the public release, we notify, we sit for 10 to 15 days on that, plus make the phone calls. I don't think we're going to have one prior to December. So I'm guessing whatever we do, we take the time knowing we're not going to make the 25-26 budget cycle. I think we take the time and look for something maybe to be completed sometime in the spring. And that way, rolling into budget talks for 26 and 27, or actually 27 and 28, but in the 26-27 timeframe, the board would have a very nice salary survey to start working off of. And if any of my fellow committee members here disagree with that, please grab the mic and speak up.
No, we need it done right.
We do. So, yeah, so I'm hopeful maybe something in August, we could hear back something.
That would be the goal for, I think, just in our conversations, and I see some heads nodding that are also on the committee, that hopefully we'd be reviewing more proposals in August, presenting to the board, and hopefully getting a company on board for that.
Okay.
I think putting it off sounds like a very good idea, Chris. I appreciate everything all the time and everything the committee's done. I think, as you pointed out, it's far more important to get it right than get it fast.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I sent you that list. I still think the list is a viable list that you could still reach out to. And if there's others that the committee wants to reach out to, I believe Tyler sent you guys that information when he sent the RFP, maybe.
That's
Anyway,
correct.
if not, I think Lisa or I have it. So, but
Hey, Chris, wear your hat next time.
that was uncalled
Wow.
right?
So why aren't you picking on Troy? His is just as shiny up top as mine is. Come on.
We do appreciate it, Chris. Thank you. Board, if there's no further questions, we'll close discussion on the salary survey.
Thank you, board.
Thanks, Chris. Thank the board and thank the committee.
I'll entertain a motion to close discussion.
So moved.
Report.
Mueller,
Aye.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. On to item number 4, County Treasurer. This is the 2025 6-month Pella driver's license lease agreement. Hi, Kristen. Hi. Good morning. Good morning. You're speaking today, and I appreciate that. The treasurer is gone. Excited. So, Kristen, what we have before us today is this is just in a 6-month extension, correct?
Yep.
Nothing is really going to be changing other than hopefully in the near future, in the 6-month period, you could be in a different building.
Correct. Yeah, they did like 2 6-month instead of a year lease because Pella is looking to move us to a different location, which they thought would be done by now, and it is not. So another 6 months, we'll be back in November, December to renew and hopefully at that time change our location.
Okay, all right. Can you give, just to remind me, you have every week, is it on Wednesdays? You
Every
guys have-
Wednesday.
Every Wednesday, and you, okay, and your staff, is it 1 or 2 people that go over?
One,
One,
because
okay.
we keep the Knoxville station open,
You do both,
which
okay.
is different than what it was when Michaela took office.
Okay, all right. Awesome, yes, because I do remember, yeah, you close on Wednesday, or twice a month or something like that.
Yeah,
now.
we used to go twice a month. Now we go every week, and previously we closed the Knoxville office to go to Pella. That caused some static, and so now when we go on Wednesdays, one staff goes to Pella alone and one staff stays in Knoxville alone.
And they make appointments over there in Pella then too?
Correct.
Okay, are you guys consistently seeing it's pretty full?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right, and then one last question, I'm being, I guess, a lot of questions. Can they do everything that they would here in Pella as they do at the courthouse? So that, can they test, can they?
Yep, they can do everything except the drive test. So
Okay.
the behind the wheel test, because we only do those Tuesday mornings by appointment in
Okay.
Knoxville.
Awesome. Thank you for answering all my
Thanks.
questions. Board, do you have any questions?
Nope.
Not, entertain a motion.
I move we approve the driver's license agreement with Pella Community Center.
I'll second.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye,
Mueller,
Aye.
Thanks, Kristen.
thank you.
To item number 5, which is resolution 2025-64. It's the award of contract of our county line road project. We have Jay. Good morning, Jay.
yeah, I'm here for Tyler.
Yes, thank you. Regarding this, it's just, I know that we've kind of spoke previously about the county line road pavement, and this was just opening up those bids and seeing. Just trying to recap here to make sure, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're recommending the estimate project is, the estimate of the project was 98,650, but we did receive a low bid of 58,714, which is significantly
Yeah,
lower, 40% below, yeah.
We received 5 bids and they were all pretty reasonable, but one of them was like 40% under the bid.
Is this a company that
Or-
you have used in the past
It's
or
a
familiar with?
company that we have not worked with in Marion County, but they have worked actually for the city of Monroe before, and they worked for the city of Knoxville before. So in speaking with both of them, they've had good results and they're happy with this contractor, so.
Okay. Board, do you have any questions for Jay? No, I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve resolution 2025-64.
I'll support.
McCombs,
Aye,
Mueller,
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye. Item number 6 is resolution 2025-65. This is to award the contract of the county line road project, and this is, Jay, tell what's the difference between these two? Sorry.
The first one was for the earthwork and the storm sewer work, which is a smaller portion of the project.
This is
And
pavement,
the
thank
second
you.
one is for the roadway work, the reclamation, stabilization, and the asphalt work.
Okay. Again, this bid of 385,678 that you're recommending, is this then will be split between Jasper? Is that correct?
It's Monroe.
Monroe County,
Yeah, the
sorry,
city of
sorry,
Monroe,
city of
and
Monroe,
both contracts are split. I mean,
Okay.
so it's a total is split 50-50 with both projects.
Okay, so really, we're not paying 385,000, or we are?
No,
We're splitting
on-
that with Monroe.
Yeah, we're on the line for half
Okay.
of each of these.
Okay, great. No. Just wanted to, for clarity, and I appreciate that. Board, any questions for Jay on this?
no,
Not, entertain a motion.
move we
Move to
approve.
approve.
Go ahead.
But, move to approve resolution 2025-65.
Second,
Mueller,
Aye.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Item number 7, resolution 2025-69. This is the Marion County CFYP amendment. Jay, do you want to give us a little bit of an update on this?
Yeah,
or-
this kind of just a spur of the moment thing just happened. I think Tyler was aware of it shortly before he left. He told me about it and said that we were gonna put a bridge in a bundling application for a discretionary grant application that just the DOT just became aware that it was available, and everything is on a really tight time frame with deadlines. And so we had a Zoom meeting and we had to amend our 5-year plan
Yep.
before July 1. So followed the instructions from the Zoom meeting and we did that, and the DOT has already approved it. So now we have to pass this resolution to approve it.
Okay. Yep, no, I get that this was kind of a thing that was dropped, and there was an opportunity, and I know that Tyler had reached out and said, you know, sorry, this is kind of, you know,
And
last minute,
asking-
but
yeah,
has to be-
asking the DOT about the odds of getting this, they seemed certain that unless somebody really screwed up, that on their end, this was going to be successful. So
do you have any thoughts or comments?
No.
Or, no? All right, entertain a motion for resolution 2025-69.
Move we approve resolution 2025-69.
I'll support.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
Mueller,
Aye.
On to item number 8, resolution 2025-67, which is the state recreational trails program grant application endorsement authorization. Board, to fill you in a little bit, we have been working with the Corps. The Corps has been is getting ready to do a new visitor center, and this is an opportunity for some funding and regarding we oftentimes do the raise grant applications. Well, then also we've got the Corps involved, and this is allowing Marion County to apply for these SRT funds. Again, this is funding to help us. What we're trying to do is we're trying to accomplish to expanding our trail system. And this is a way that Tyler felt that this was a funding application, and it's a grant application. And if we could show support before July 1st, this would help us. This is where this is going. There is a committee of us that has been working. Carla helped us get, it's called National Park Services. They are helping us with trying to plan and organize a trail system. And whether that would be that trail system that comes from the Corps to the visitor center towards Knoxville, or connecting that up into Monroe. We felt that this is something that everybody could use, especially after COVID. We learned that, we need things that we can utilize outdoors. And we have a large body that takes up a large property tax portion, and we might as well embrace that large body and see what we can do to invite and encourage economic development. So this is just a support letter. If you're willing, I'm willing to sign this. And that's pretty much highlight of it.
I'm in favor of anything that will expand our trail systems and
Okay.
recreation opportunities.
Appreciate that, Jim. So, yeah. Steve, you have any comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion for resolution 2567.
Move to approve resolution 2025-67.
Second.
McCombs,
Aye.
Mueller,
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
Before we go to number 9, I'd like to make a mention to the secondary road department. I received several good wishes and notices about this year's seal coat. People were very impressed this year with the seal coating and the company that did it.
it's a company that we deal with all the time, and they are a quality company. They do good work, and they do have some new people this year that we're doing things that they hadn't done in the past, so.
Yeah. I received some good comments this year.
No, appreciate the secondary road. This is a very busy time. There's a lot of projects. So thank you guys for your due diligence. So, yeah. On to item number 9, resolution 2025-71, which is Marion County General Assistance Policy Update. Lindsay, good
Yes.
morning.
Good morning.
Give us a highlight of what you're asking here.
I will. Yes, so the general assistance policies were last updated in February of 2020, which is when general assistance came under the public health umbrella. So since it's been a few years, there were a few policies we thought needed some updating and some changes. So I'll highlight those, and then Dell and I will be happy to answer any questions you might have. So the changes that we made were for applicant eligibility. We changed from gross to net wages to make them eligible. For those applicants who may have some larger deductions that are coming out of their paychecks, we're going to use their net wages to determine eligibility rather than gross wages. We also increased rental assistance from $500 to $750 being the max, and utilities from $200 to $300. And then the last thing we did was add a foot care clinic policy. So this is something we discussed during the budget season this year. So at Public Health, under our local public health services grant, we used to be able to offer foot care clinics, and it was part of a grant funded service. So a couple years ago, they changed their focus from individual service to population health. And so we still offered those foot care clinics, but at a cost to the clients. So we did have some clients who stopped coming when we started charging for that. And this foot care clinic in the general assistance policy is a way to sort of bridge that gap. So we'll use a sliding fee scale based on a client's income. So they might pay $5, they might pay $10, they might pay the whole fee, or if they fall under that 138% of the federal poverty level, they would pay nothing, and general assistance would pick up the difference. So for example, the cost of an appointment would be $30. If I paid $5, general assistance would bridge that gap of the $25.
Is this a rolling calendar or is this our calendar? Can you explain to the, so if you have client come in and they wanting rent assistance or
Mhm.
whatever it may be, and they came in July or June 24th, they're not eligible again until
Till June 25 of next year.
Okay,
Yep, it's a rolling
okay.
calendar. Yep. So $750 maximum on a rolling calendar for general assistance. Yep.
Okay. Gross versus net, the only caution that I say is that if we get abundance, I mean, I do know, and that you're trying to look at whether it would be like a child support or something of
Sure.
that.
For family health care.
Assembly, yep.
Mhm.
That sometimes we'll just have to monitor, what we're looking at. We only have so much money, right,
Right.
in that pot. And so,
Yep.
at the end of the day, I think myself as a board, that when we run out of money, we run out of money, right? So we can only allocate so much, but
Right. And something Dell and I have also talked about is if you're interested, providing a quarterly report just via email to the three of you, so you know how much we've spent, what we're spending. We have seen an increase this year over last year in requests and in funds, just with the increased price of everything and then the layoffs that have affected people in our county.
okay. I would appreciate that. That will
Yeah.
help us.
Sure.
So,
Would be,
Yeah.
yeah.
Jim, do you have any questions for Lindsay?
All sounds very responsible.
All right. If no further discussion, entertain a motion for resolution 2025-71.
Move we approve resolution 2025-71. And thank you.
Thank you.
I'll support that.
Healer,
Aye.
Donner,
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Thank you.
Lindsay, Dell, thank you, appreciate it. Item number 10 is county attorney requesting a judicial mental health advocate memorandum of understanding with Polk County. Good morning.
Good morning. This is simply an update to the way things have operated in the past with Marion County, Jasper County, and Polk County joining together to provide a judicial mental health advocate as required by Iowa Code 229. Shouldn't be any big changes there, just updating an agreement that has worked in the past.
I believe the last agreement we had, we had a fee structure. You don't see that fee structure changing or anything. It doesn't say any different in here, so that's why I was just looking at it. I didn't see it anyways.
I have not looked into that specifically, but obviously the document
Doesn't
doesn't
state anything,
contemplate
yeah.
any
Okay.
changes.
No, I do think, it is something that we have to have, my understanding, so I have no issues with this. But
I have none either.
I appreciate you guys, bringing it before us, so. With that, entertain a motion for approval of the judicial mental health advocate memorandum of understanding.
So moved.
I'll support.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
On to item number 11. This is for Marion County cigarette, tobacco, nicotine permit renewals for Keener Oil. Do we want to do these together or separate?
Unless you guys have issue, a singular motion can work for us.
Okay. So what we have before us is Keener Oil and Harvey, Iowa is requesting, and also New Star of Newton New Star Newton, but is located in Pella, Iowa. I did not hear from the sheriff's office. Maybe somebody else did, but Troy is with us this morning. Troy, do you okay with these or have any issues? You have no issues? Okay.
When I received the request, but when we receive the request, we send out to all, we hope applicable departments, and we received no comments back,
Okay.
negative or positive. So, annual event, that I guess falls onto us.
All right. Yep, so no issues. From our standpoint, entertain a motion.
I move
Move
we
to-
approve 2 cigarette tobacco permits for Keener Oil and New Star Newton.
I'll
I'll
second.
support.
McCombs,
Aye.
Mueller,
Aye.
Johnner.
Item number 12, receive and file the FY24 Marion County audit. I'm gonna turn that over to Jake. It says.
From cigarettes to, from
Department.
tobacco to audit. This is administrative receive and file. We received an extension deadline this year to the end of June, as per requested by our auditing firm. They had several audits and schools, and so we're getting the final report now. We'll be filing that with the state, and in the claims today is the filing fee to the state as well for our audit report, and includes the county's management discussion and analysis report as well. I want to again thank all the departments for their efforts. This is for the FY24. It's always weird. You have to figure out what year you're in as we're moving into 26. But so they helped us with this quite some time ago, but good, clean report. No major concerns. We always, we can always be perfect, but we try, and we are never quite perfect. But small staffs, control issues, things like that, they're a continual process that we work on. So in all, a great effort by everyone, and I appreciate it. And I would appreciate you receiving and file this so we can get it submitted to the state.
Jake, yearly I have to remind everybody that, we pay for the audit.
Yes.
And it is important. They do a great job, and we're very thankful that we have Terpstra and Hope to be able to do that. But with the state, we have to pay the state to accept the audit, which is $850. I always just think that's unique. So I'm not for sure what they do for the $850, but
I have a different word for it.
but I do think it's important that the public knows that we do have to pay the state to send the report out. So if there's no further questions.
Nope.
We have a receive and file.
I move to receive and file the county audit report for 2024.
Second.
Mueller,
Aye.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Item number 13. Resolution 2025-70. I would like to start out and say, wasn't too long ago, I believe it was in January that I approached the board that I wanted to update the handbook. I know that we were asked, could we get this done, or when could we get this done? And I put out something that I was like, oh, I did say that. But I said, hopefully by July 1st, if not by the end of the year. I want to give kudos to where they deserved, and that's to our HR department. I give Lisa a big task, and I said to her, okay, we're going to do this. And so we met weekly for many weeks. And then with working with outside counsel, which I'm appreciative of that too. Then at that point, we were able to meet with department heads, electeds, and got them to sign off. And board, we have our HR book. And this is a long time coming. This is, I believe, last one was done 15 years ago or something.
It was 2010, and those of you that have been here for a while will remember Dave Hansen, our HR director that we had a contract with. He was a contract director. He was the last one to do the handbook.
So
Long time coming.
Updating a handbook is not an easy task. There's a lot of moving parts, and then obviously a lot's changed in 15 years. But it was important. It was time, and I do think that this year one of my biggest focuses are, and that's why we talked about it as a board: handbook, salary study, things like that. We need to take care of the employees. We need to make sure our county government is running smoothly too. And so I appreciate everybody's patience. I appreciate Lisa not throwing a book at me and saying, no, forget it. We're not doing this. But yeah, I do appreciate the willingness and everybody's involvement, because without the department heads and electeds coming back and meeting with us, it had to be a buy-in by everybody. And I'm appreciative of that. So I will allow Lisa to kind of give you highlights, board. And if you have questions to her, ask away. So Lisa.
And sorry, my voice is still coming back. One thing I do want to say is I think that we all learned something during this process, and especially with the meetings with the elected officials and the department heads. It was really nice to have those conversations of, just being able to ask questions about it. So it was a great, at first I was like, oh no. But it was very good meetings. So I appreciate that. What I want you to remember is in this handbook, we are taking the high approach. And so we're taking out a lot of the by department elements of this handbook. That doesn't mean that doesn't apply to departments, and a department head can certainly write their policy to what fits your department best. So, something that is at the sheriff's office may not work for public health. We understand that, and this is the high level view of it. Okay. Just a couple of the major highlights I'll try to hit. It's impossible to tell you in the whole document every little change I made, because there were so many changes and it was so wordy. So I'll just hit the highlights. We did add in a 12-month probationary period for all departments unless your department has something different. And we'll kind of go over that in a little bit and more in detail. Equal opportunity, the gender identity, that was updated. We still had our job postings on bulletin boards and paper applications, which we don't do anymore. Drug testing is still a work in progress, but we have updated that. A new policy will be the tobacco-free, nicotine-free policy for countywide buildings. I thank Dell Bennett here for writing that for us, so thank you. Use of county vehicles, I'm going to highlight some reimbursable expenses that we found out some information on also. Inclement weather, oh my goodness, that was so wordy. I read it, and so we've condensed it down. And hopefully we'll have some new procedures coming forward with that also. Added in, you will see the vacation. When we wrote the handbook previously, the vacation has always been confusing to everybody. So we rewrote that. You'll see that 1 year prior to you hitting that next level is when you start accruing your benefits. And that's been the practice for 15 years. It just doesn't say it. It didn't say it right in the handbook. Proposal then is to, with new hires, that they would get 5 days of vacation up front and then start accruing those 5 days through their first year.
So it's 5 additional days.
5 additional days. So they'll dump 5 days and then they'll get the 5 additional accruing throughout the year. Keisha and I had lengthy conversations on that. And we came up with, that's why the 12-month probationary period is in there. You'll see that vacation will not be paid out for any individual who leaves within a year. So they may have
That's a
that.
proposed change that I'm asking for the
Yep.
board to be able to accept. Yeah.
So 12-month probationary period. If they leave, they will not get that payout of a vacation. Other major change is sick leave. Currently, you have 3 days of sick leave you can use for family, and that will change to 5 days is the proposal. So instead of using 3 days of your sick leave for your family, now it would move to 5. Benefits, we rewrote, that whole section was rewritten, and it's just basically high level. And then we made changes to the safety section because the safety manual was approved. So we made that section match our safety manual. That's the high level changes. If anybody has any questions.
Board?
No,
Yeah.
thank you all for working on that. Appreciate it.
Hopefully it won't be 15 more years before we do it again.
No,
No.
I agree.
So, if the board, approving today, I'd just like to remind everybody that, you will be then receiving, a copy again. You'll have to sign off on it so that, and then you will receive your copy. So HR will have to work with that. That also means for electeds, department heads, those that serve on that have a board, that board chair, that have boards
The board.
amongst their departments. So example, conservation, they have a
Right.
conservation board. I also want to discuss with the board that I think the next step after approval is that working with IT to get a portal started on our website. So then now we could put the handbook into the portal, setting up every employee would have an employee portal and they could log in, it will have information. We can also feed information through that would be helpful. So that would be another step that I would like to get done yet this year also. So, but pretty much high level what we're looking at. And yeah, I would like to hear your thoughts. Otherwise, entertain a motion for approval of resolution 2025-70.
I move we approve resolution 2025-70.
I'll support.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
Thank you. It's a huge accomplishment. I do appreciate it. It's a huge accomplishment for everybody to put input to it too. So I am very, very thankful. Thank you for allowing to work together on this. Item number 14, Board of Supervisor updates. Mr. Mueller, you got any updates?
Yes, I'm very pleased to announce that, as I said at the last meeting, we made an offer for the economic development position. The offer was made, was accepted. The gentleman has passed the physical, and I'd like to announce that Dan Nealon will be starting on July the 7th as our new economic development director.
I think there's correction on that, Jim. I think he's starting July 14th.
Oh,
Something
I think
to
you're
do,
right.
Yeah. So, but yes, that's great. Yeah. Some of you
You're
may
correct. It is the 14th.
Yeah, some of you may remember Dan. Dan worked with ISU Extension and come to like economic development meetings. this, he does know the economic development world, so we're happy to have him. But sorry, Jim, do you have any other updates or
Nope, that's it.
didn't mean to cut you off? Mr. McCombs?
Oh, I have none.
I have aging resources this week. Other than that, I don't have any other updates. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
I'll support.
Combs,
Aye.
Mueller,
Aye.
Johnner.
Thank you, everyone.